Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we're stepping inside a house of mirrors where the reflection isn't yours. In the mid 1950s, the CIA wasn't just interested in what people knew, they wanted to control how they thought. They funded a man named Dr. Ewen Cameron at McGill University in Montreal. He was the president of the World Psychiatric Association, but behind closed doors, he was the architect of MKUltra Subproject 68. His goal? To depattern the human brain, to erase a person's soul and write a new one on the blank slate that remained. They called it psychic driving. Imagine being put into a chemical sleep for 30 days while a speaker under your pillow repeats the same sentence 250,000 times. Subproject 68 utilized a combination of high-voltage electroshock therapy and prolonged drug-induced sleep. Dr. Cameron would administer shocks 30 to 40 times the normal power, intentionally inducing amnesia. A quote from Dr. Ewen Cameron, dated 1958. The concept of psychic driving is based upon the repetitive playback of a message to a subject who has been stripped of their primary defenses. End quote. The CIA's technical services, led by Sidney Gottlieb, provided the funding through a front organization called the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology. One patient, Velma Orlikow, the wife of a Canadian member of parliament, entered the Institute for mild postpartum depression and left unable to remember her own children or how to use a fork. Dr. Cameron's sleep room was a darkened ward where patients were kept in a state of semi-consciousness for weeks, sometimes months, using Thorazine and Seconal. A quote from the CIA Inspector General report dated 1963. The ethical considerations of Subproject 68 were secondary to the potential for creating a programmable asset, end quote. These psychic driving tapes were split into two phases. Negative signals, which attacked the patient's existing personality, and positive signals intended to build the new one. To ensure the patients couldn't escape the sound, Cameron used specially designed football helmets with built-in speakers locked onto the patients' heads. The agency's interest was specifically in interrogation resistance. They wanted to see if they could wipe a captured spy before they could leak secrets. The Montreal experiments were so extreme that even some CIA scientists expressed concern that Cameron was too enthusiastic in his destruction of the human psyche. During the depatterning phase, patients would often lose control of basic bodily functions and regress to a toddler-like state, sucking their thumbs and crying for their mothers. One of the looping tapes used in Subproject 68 was recorded by Cameron himself using a voice he described as authoritative, benevolent. The CIA provided Cameron with nearly $60,000 between 1957 and 1960, over $500,000 in today's money, exclusively for these experiments. Subproject 68 also experimented with curare, a paralyzing poison, to keep patients immobile during the audio playback. The Allan Memorial Institute was once a private mansion called Ravenscrag, adding a gothic horror element to the real-life atrocities happening inside. When MKUltra was exposed in the 1970s, the Canadian government initially denied knowledge, despite the CIA documents showing clear coordination. Cameron's work was partially inspired by the brainwashing techniques allegedly used by the Chinese on American POWs during the Korean War. The psychic driving sessions could last for up to 16 hours a day with the same 10-second clip of audio playing on a constant loop. In 1988, the CIA agreed to pay $750,000 to 9 former patients of Dr. Cameron. the largest settlement the agency had ever paid at the time. Many of the survivors of Subproject 68 suffered from permanent brain damage and were never able to hold a job or live independently again. Dr. Cameron destroyed much of his own research when he left the Institute in 1964, making the CIA's declassified files the only remaining record. One tape used for a positive signal was simply the sound of a mother humming a lullaby, played so loudly it caused physical pain to the patient. Cameron's grid room was an early version of an isolation chamber where light and sound were manipulated to break the subject's sense of time. The CIA's Dr. Gottlieb visited Montreal personally to observe the depatterning process, reportedly taking extensive notes on the total submission of the patients. A quote from Linda McDonald. She's a survivor of Subproject 68. "They took my life away from me. They took my memory. They took my family, and they replaced it with a voice on a tape." End quote. The CIA utilized Subproject 68 to investigate the electrosleep method, a Soviet-derived concept that used low-level currents to maintain a state of hypnosis for days on end. A quote from Sidney Gottlieb in an internal memo: "We are searching for the key to the human engine. If we can disassemble it, we can reassemble it for the agency's benefit." End quote. Dr. Cameron was a veteran of the Nuremberg trials, where he served as a psychiatric evaluator for Rudolf Hess, yet he used the very medical torture methods he once condemned. The Allan Memorial Institute received more funding for mind control research than any other single institution in Canada or the United States during the peak of MKUltra. Developed the TV psychosis theory, suggesting that the flickering light of a television could be used as a delivery system for psychic driving on a mass scale. If you look at the MKUltra files regarding Subproject 68, there is a 20-page section labeled Post-Driving Integration that is entirely blacked out. The black bars start appearing right after the mention of Phase 3. A theory that keeps the mind war crowd up at night is that the CIA wasn't just trying to wipe memories. Speculation suggests the redactions hide the remote trigger, a specific audio frequency that once embedded in a depatterned brain could activate the subject years later through a simple telephone call. And the bars cover the frequency maps for these human sleepers. A rumor floating through the Montreal underground is that the black bars hide the surrogate personality. Speculation is that Project MKUltra Subproject 68 successfully uploaded the personality of a CIA handler into a patient, and the redactions cover the soul transfer logs. Some believe the redactions hide the ultrasonic command. The theory is that the agency developed a way to broadcast psychic driving messages over standard television signals, and the black bars hide the national broadcast test results. Could the black bars hide the genetic memory project? One wild theory suggests Cameron was trying to use audio to unlock the memories of a patient's ancestors, and the redactions cover the bloodline retrieval data. Some believe the redactions hide the ghost script. The theory is that the CIA was using psychic driving to make patients believe they were people who had already died, to use them as haunted spies, and the black bars hide the necro-intelligence protocols. There is a theory that the black bars hide the human hard drive. Speculation suggests the CIA discovered a way to store gigabytes of encrypted data inside the neurons of a depatterned brain, and the redactions cover the bio-storage retrieval codes. Some speculate the redactions hide the hive mind. The theory is that Subproject 68 was actually trying to link multiple patients' brains together through synchronized audio loops, and the black bars hide the cerebral networking success rates. Whispers claim the black bars hide the silence virus. The theory is that the agency created an audio loop that could delete specific words from a person's vocabulary permanently, and the redactions cover the linguistic erasure list. Some speculate the redactions hide the dream infiltration. The theory is that Dr. Cameron found a way to psychically drive messages into a patient's dreams, and the black bars hide the nocturnal programming logs. Finally, some speculate the black bars hide the Manchurian master. The theory is that Dr. Cameron himself was a brainwashed asset of a foreign power, and the redactions cover the internal mole investigation. Deep in the forums, a theory roars that the black bars cover the LSD resonator. Speculation suggests the CIA used audio loops to vibrate the chemicals already in a patient's system, creating a permanent trip that never ends, and the bars hide the Infinity Protocol charts. Could the black bars hide the voice of God? Some speculate the agency used Subproject 68 to develop a bone conduction broadcast that made patients hear voices in their own skulls with no visible source, and the redactions cover the schizophrenia simulator field test. Some MK truthers believe the black bars hide the global grid. Speculation is that Subproject 68 was just a test run for a satellite-based psychic driving system that covers the Earth today, and the bars hide the orbital mind control schematics. Is there a shadow Cameron? One theory suggests the black bars hide a second, even more secretive doctor who is actually running the show from the basement of Ravenscrag, and the redactions cover the true director identity. Finally, some speculate the black bars hide the memory parasite. The theory is that the CIA found a way to transfer the skills of an expert, like a linguist or a pilot, into a D-pattern subject, and the redactions cover the skill set grafting success stories. Was Subproject 68 a success? Scientifically, it was an absolute disaster. Dr. Cameron never successfully repatterned a human being. He succeeded only in destroying them. However, operationally, the CIA learned exactly how much the human mind can take before it breaks. They mastered the breaking point, which became the foundation for modern enhanced interrogation techniques. The broken record left behind more than just trauma as far as operational breakthroughs go, such as sensory deprivation standards, refining the use of white noise and isolation to induce compliance, pharmacological subjugation, understanding the precise cocktail of barbiturates and hallucinogens to loosen a subject, audio loop psychology, developing the repetition fatigue model used in modern psychological warfare, electronic brain stimulation. The early precursors to neurotechnology were tested in the high voltage labs of Ravenscrag. Dr. Cameron died in 1967 while mountain climbing. He left behind a legacy of broken minds and blacked out files. The broken record is still spinning in the archives of history. The next time you hear a voice that feels a little too familiar, a little too repetitive, just remember, some patterns aren't meant to be broken. Thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to tune in next time when we examine Operation Hazard. In a secret bunker, the agency pushed its own elite agents to the brink of madness. We'll uncover the stress inoculation trials where deep cover operatives were subjected to fake executions and simulated betrayals to see who would crack. Next time, we'll also whisper about the theory of the infiltrator's insanity. Speculation suggests that Operation Hazard wasn't about training, but about a final loyalty test where agents were forced to choose between their mission and their lives, with the CIA filming every second for an interrogation training reel that is still top secret today. Who watches the Watchers tortured? Join us for The Breaking Point. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.